Can I ask you something? Have you ever had one of those moments where life taps you on the shoulder and then, before you can answer, it shoves you? You know the moment I'm talking about. The doctor says something you weren't expecting. Your kids don't need you the same way anymore. You wake up one morning and realize you've been spending years building a life that doesn't fit the person you've become. And somewhere between confusion and acceptance, you whisper two words. Wait, what? Welcome to Hardly Over. I'm Kimberlee Jennette, and I spent decades walking with people through some of life's biggest transitions. And as a transplant coordinator, a coach, and now as someone learning to navigate midlife right alongside you, what I've discovered is this. Reinvention isn't something we arrive at. It's something we practice. And if you've landed here because you were somewhere in the middle of your life, wondering what comes next, I want you to know something. You're in good company. You see, somewhere along the way, our culture decided that midlife was supposed to be a slow fade. You know, we talk about anti-aging, midlife crises, empty nest, over the hill, as if somehow 50 is an ending instead of Tuesday. I really wonder who decided that. Because honestly, I've met people in their 20s who have already quit on themselves. And I've met people in their 70s who are really just getting started. You know, age has very little to do with whether you're alive. People sometimes ask me if working around death all these years has made me afraid of getting older. The truth is, it's done the opposite. It's made me afraid of not living. You see, as a transplant coordinator, I've walked into hospital rooms where a family thought they had another Christmas, another birthday, another ordinary Wednesday. And in a matter of hours, everything changed. And I've learned something standing in those hallways. Life doesn't ask us if we're ready. It keeps moving. And the question isn't whether change is coming. The question is, what are we going to do when it gets here? And somewhere along the way, I realized something. Midlife isn't the first time life surprises us. It's just the first time most of us have stopped long enough to ask, is this really the life I want to keep living? You know, that's a terrifying question, but it might also be the most helpful one. Because the moment you ask it, you've already begun to change. Here's what I think. Most of us don't need another productivity hack. And we surely don't need another morning routine. We don't need one person yelling at us to optimize every second of the day. Truthfully, sometimes we just need permission to admit that life we used to fit, it doesn't fit anymore. And it's not because we failed. It's because we changed. And the truth is, change, it isn't betrayal. It's evidence that you've been living. You know, my pastor always says, you'll get that about 11 o'clock. And then the other thing always says is if you live long enough. And I'm starting to understand that is part of the question. If you've lived long enough, change is the evidence of living. And this podcast isn't about pretending that getting older is easy, because it isn't. Our bodies change, our relationships change, heck, our dreams change. And truth be told, sometimes our faith changes. And sometimes grief moves in without even asking permission. But just like grief moves in, sometimes joy, it surprises us the exact same way. So we're going to talk about health, purpose, relationships, and identity. And more importantly, we're going to talk about the stories we tell ourselves, the stories given to us with and without our permission, and the ones we were never meant to carry. See, I don't believe reinvention starts with quitting your job or packing up and moving across the country or buying a sports car or any of those spontaneous things. I think reinvention usually starts much quieter than that. It starts when you tell the truth and when you admit, I'm exhausted and I don't recognize myself anymore. Or I spend so much time taking care of everyone else that I forgot to ask what I need. Or maybe I've been living in a story that doesn't belong to me. And that kind of honesty, it changes everything. Not overnight, but one conversation and one decision and one brave moment at a time. So here's what I hope happens every time you listen. I hope you leave caring just a little less and living a little better. Not because I gave you answers, but because together, we really just started asking better questions. So before we leave today, I want to ask you one question. Not to answer for me, to answer for yourself. What part of your life have you accepted that maybe deserves another look? And where have you convinced yourself this is just how it is? When maybe it's simply the story you've been telling yourself. You know, you don't have to solve that today. Just notice it. Because this is the truth. Awareness is where reinvention begins. Because maybe, just maybe, midlife isn't the beginning of the end. Maybe it's the end of pretending. And maybe this is the first season where we stop performing and start becoming. You see, maybe reinvention isn't something reserved for the lucky few. Maybe it's what we're designed to do. So wherever you are listening, whether you're walking your dog, commuting in your car, folding laundry, or a little like me, sitting in a parking lot because you needed 10 more minutes to yourself. I'm really glad you're here. Take a breath, get comfortable. We've got a lot to talk about. And I have a feeling we're just getting started. Welcome to Hardly Over, because reinvention has no expiration date. I'm Kimberlee Jennette, and I can't wait for you to take this ride with me across the season, where we look and ask the question, wait, what? And we start fixing the stories we tell ourselves. Till next time, stay curious and live fully.